Who is the outcast? Who do we see amidst the swarm? The children of God. Who is this who lives with us only, sharing their sorrows, knowing their hunger? This is Christ revealed to the world in the eyes of the child of the poor. So bring him incense, gold, and recompense, and King to own him, the King of kings. Salvation brings, let loving hearts enthrone him. So bring all the thirsty, all who seek peace. Bring those with nothing to offer. Strengthen the feeble. Say to the frightened heart, fear not. Here is your God. Who is this who lives with us lonely, sharing their sorrows, knowing their hunger? This is Christ revealed to the world in the eyes of the child of the poor. The child of the poor. The babe, the son of Mary.
Good morning. Happy Sabbath. Can y'all hear me okay? Sorry, I can't hear myself. Wow. I'm just delighted to be smack in the middle of all this beautiful music and sharing, and I'm just a little comic relief, so there's more coming after me, okay? I want to talk to you this morning about why I love Gen Z. So do you know what that means? Gen Z, Generation Z. Those are our kids from the ages of 8 to 24 right now, all right? So Gen Z is preceded by who? Generation Y, also known as the Millennials. Yeah, somebody here knows these things. All right, so they're succeeded by who's coming next? The next generation. So we had Gen Y, Gen Z, the next will be Generation Alpha. So they're being born right now, they're up to our 7-year-olds. So I had some fun researching our generations because as much as we're not talking about individuals, you all have the mold of your generation, but there are characteristics in each generation based on what the people in that generation have lived through, and they're especially known for when they come of age, right? So the millennials have come of age around the millennium, right? So before the millennials, Gen Y, we had Gen X, our 40 to 55-year-olds. I'm a Gen Xer, okay? Gen X is primarily the parents of Generation Z right now. So Keith and I have one Gen Zer, but we have 3 millennials. Okay, so we're old for Gen Xers, so we have millennials. Or we're on the older end of the Gen Z, the Gen X period. So for example, we're known for being the latchkey generation because our parents were becoming so independent and also had high divorce rates that we were often raised without parental supervision. That's just a characteristic of our generation. Before Gen Xers were the baby boomers, right? Those who are currently our 56 to 74-year-olds. They were a little more coming of age in the 70s and are a little more into the counterculture. So the generation before the baby boomers were called the silent generation. They came of age in the 50s and 60s, and they were known for being hardworking, frugal, and not risk takers. So some generations are kind of known for one thing or another, right? And then, then they pass those on to their children, and so on. And they are currently our Kapuna, our 75 to 93-year-olds. And before the silent generation was called the greatest generation. They were teens during World War I, and they came of age during the Great Depression. And before the greatest generation was the lost generation. So I just tend to cry a little bit when I speak in public, so I just have to put that out there so I can just carry on and not worry about it. The lost generation is called that because so many died in World War I. So I'm going to have a little prayer before I start. If you could join me. Father in heaven, I am so grateful for all of the youth and young adults. This isn't about individuals, but these are social trends, right? These are based on questionnaires and research, whether it's on church attendance or on education, on educational tests or exams, or how people vote, all that kind of stuff. Sociology, right? That's what we're studying. So in general, Generation Z is known for these things. They see increased diversity as good for society. They are tolerant of people different from themselves. They are on track to be the most well-educated generation yet. They are digital natives, like the millennials, who are very, social medias, they're very fluent with that, except Generation Z is peculiar because they have little or no memory of the world as it existed before the smartphone. So they're the first generation raised up right alongside with smartphones, which we know has changed society. They tend to be well-behaved and abstemious, which I had to look up. That means they are not self-indulgent. They are risk-averse, meaning they're not risk-takers, and they live more slowly than their predecessors. They have lower rates of teenage pregnancy, they consume less alcohol and less often, and they're better at delaying gratification, especially compared with youth from, guess which generation? The 1960s. Okay, so our kids today are better at delaying gratification than, for example, the youth in the 1960s. I thought that was funny. They do have some health challenges, however, that are also peculiar to their generation. They're being affected, right, by the changing environment. So they have increased rates of allergies and are more prone to mental health problems. They're more likely to be sleep deprived and may be facing decreased cognitive abilities. In the year of 2020, as we speak, right? So they are coming of age in the time that we live in right now, which we all know this year has just been, exceptional. And it's going to shape, right, how they go through their future. So really, their future is being shaped right now. You know, the former generations, we could see how they raised their kids. We could see, you know, how they did and, you know, as in their careers and the choices they made and so on. But, you know, Gen Z, it's happening right this moment. So we have amazing opportunities. And I also want to share about Gen Z's peculiar struggles to them. So earlier generations, so on a physical, on a, you know, biological level, earlier generations, just as much as like 50 or 60 years ago, puberty came later. For example, you know, females started to menstruate around age 16. Now it's more like age 12. That's just in 50, 60 years. That's a big change, by the way. And on the other hand, something like marriage used to be around the age of, in the earlier 20s. Now people average get married in their later 20s. That's a big difference too. So, but what used to happen earlier for people is they kind of figured themselves out. By the time they were in their late teens and graduated high school, they kind of knew what they wanted to do, who they wanted to be with, what kind of family they wanted to raise, maybe where they wanted to live, or what kind of career they wanted to have. And that was a lot to take care of at an early age. Nowadays, it takes people well into their 20s to really figure all that out. Right now, and there's a lot of reasons for this, but right now what kids are going through mostly is trying to just navigate this world and figure out who they are. So it's a lot about identity. And I love the opportunities we have in youth group to talk about identity. And we talk about it. People are never getting to hear that. They're looking